The 4% rule of thumb dictates how much of your savings you can, quote-unquote, safely withdraw once retired. But it's more of a rule of thumb, not an actual rule. It's fine for quick and dirty, back-of-the-napkin calculation, but when putting your real retirement plan in place, it might not work for you. The last thing you want is to be decades into your retirement and run out of money. First, what is the 4% rule? Let's say you have $1 million saved. 4% of $1 million is $40,000. So if you withdraw $40,000 or less annually, in theory, your $1 million should last at least 30 years. Once retired, you'll need to tap two sources of money to pay for your lifestyle: savings and retirement income. Ideally, you have one or several sources of retirement income that will last your lifetime. This includes Social Security, a pension, an annuity, plus investment income like dividends or real estate. If this covers all your living expenses, then you're good. You can then use the second source, your savings, for something else: a vacation home, your children and grandchildren, or your favorite charities. But for most of us, retirement income such as Social Security will only cover a small portion of our needs. We'll need to cover the rest by withdrawing from our savings. The challenge is to withdraw a small portion so the rest can grow and cover our remaining years. This is where the 4% rule of thumb comes in. But is 4% the right percentage? First, a little history. Back in the early 1990s, a financial planner named William Bengen wanted to develop a better way to plan retirement for his clients. To begin with, how much did they need to save? And second, how much could they safely withdraw during retirement? Bill Bengen looked at the historical returns of both stocks and bonds, with an emphasis on periods when returns were poor. And he also looked at various allocations of stocks and bonds. Then he dialed down the percentage withdrawal rate until he landed on a percentage where a given portfolio would last 30 years, which was the typical retirement length at the time. Where did he land? A portfolio withdrawn at a rate of 4.15% would last 30 years. What was interesting was that the allocation of stocks and bonds wasn't as critical. Anywhere from 45 to 75% stocks was enough to last 30 years. Note that a portfolio very heavy in stocks is bad, as a bear market, especially early in retirement, can derail the entire plan. Likewise, a portfolio very heavy in bonds is bad, as it won't grow enough to cover withdrawals or inflation. Bill Bengen is the first to clarify that this is merely a guideline and not a rule. There are some obvious limitations. These days, we're living longer. Age 100 isn't unheard of. If you're a couple, the odds are high that at least one of you will live a long life. If you retire early, you could be looking at 40, 50, perhaps even 60 years of retirement. In 1996, Bill Bengen followed up his original analysis and found that 45 years of retirement required a withdrawal rate of 3.5%. Over the intervening decades, many financial experts have updated this analysis using different methods and found different withdrawal rates. For example, around 2005, Bill Bengen himself added small cap stocks to the large cap stocks and bonds. For a more diversified portfolio containing more than two asset classes, he updated the 30-year withdrawal rate from 4.15% to 4.5%. Not all studies have been as optimistic. For example, in 2013, Michael Finke and colleagues had concerns about our historically low interest rates. Bonds are not making what they used to back in the day. Using current interest rates, they calculated that withdrawing 4% over 30 years had a failure rate as high as 57%? Sure, interest rates could go up again, but no one really knows. Dropping the withdrawal percentage to 3% also dropped the failure rate to around 20%. Considering all the unknowns, 20% failure may be reasonable. Given all their low interest rate assumptions, they also calculated the maximum sustainable withdrawal rate at 2.5%. 2.5% is very different from 4%. If you needed $40,000 a year for 30 years, you would need to save $1 million with the 4% rule. But with 2.5% withdrawals, you need to save over $1.6 million. That's a lot more. Don't panic, there is another solution. Once you retire, there's no rule that you must withdraw the same amount every year. You can be flexible, making adjustments throughout your 30, 40, or 50 years of retirement. First, it's important to define two types of spending, the must-haves versus the nice-to-haves. In any given year, at minimum, you'll need to cover the must-haves, plus a few niceties. If your income plus around 2 to 3% of your savings covers this, you're good. You can create a spending floor, perhaps around 3 to 3.5% of your savings per year. If stock returns have been poor and your portfolio has suffered, you can spend near the floor. However, if the market has been generous and your portfolio has grown, you can ratchet up your spending. There are different suggestions on how to recalculate your percentage withdrawal. The simplest is to reapply your floor percentage to the new balance, as it's assumed this percentage is safe moving forward. Book that trip to the Bahamas. Enjoy the scuba diving. And if you need help with the math, your friendly neighborhood financial planner can help. William Bergen is retired himself now. What rate of withdrawal would he recommend today? 4 3/4 to 5%. Are you retired? What percentage withdrawal rate are you using? Comment below.